Roz Gold-Onwude here with Andrew Lopez and Tim Bontemps, and we are ready to have the ultimate Celtics discussion, debate, conversation. We're going to dissect the 10 most important Celtics players of all time.
The number one guy to represent anything Boston Celtics is Bill Russell. His number 6, retired across the league, 11 championships, a winner through and through at every level of basketball. Of course, a Louisiana native, so I feel a little partial to that.
It sounds all corny, to start talking like that.
But this one was easy. Bill Russell, just one of the absolute greatest players of all time. Number 1 on the list for greatest Celtic of all time.
The second guy on the list, again, you're talking about the Boston Celtics, right? The most storied franchise, arguably, in the history of the league. You can go a lot of different directions, but Bill Russell's the obvious number 1 choice. Larry Bird is the very obvious number 2 choice, right? Last guy, one of 3 players ever to win 3 NBA MVPs in a row. Wilton, Russell being the other 2 guys. One of the iconic players in the sport, helped bring the Celtics back in the 80s.
The most talented player in the NBA, by far.
Won 3 titles, part of those iconic 80s teams. Very easy choice as the second guy in terms of, lasting impact in the history of the Celtics franchise.
Number 3, I'm going to go with another guy who just had an award named after him recently, John Havlicek, who, when you look at all the story guys that we're going to talk about, you look at everybody to ever don that Celtics jersey, he stands number 1 in points scored for this franchise. 8-time champion. Has done it. It was there for such a long time. His number 17 is up there. He has just done so much, I think. When you look at the rest of this list is going to get a little choppy, and you could probably put 3 to 8 in a hat, pull it out, and you can't be wrong. 1 and 2 are pretty fine, but I'll start with Havlicek here at number 3 as we go through the rest of the list. I'm
going to go off the board a little bit with my 4th pick and say Red Auerbach. Now, obviously, a lot of times this is obviously a player-centric list, but when you look at what Red did, obviously coaching those teams in the 60s, integrating the NBA with guys like Bill Russell and Sam Jones and all the guys they had back then.
There you see Red Auerbach as he's lighting up his cigar.
Then, rebuilding the team in the 80s with, making the trades to get Kevin McHale and Robert Parish and Larry Bird, building that team back up. He still hangs over the Celtics franchise now, decades after he was done being part of the organization on a daily basis, long after he's passed away. When you talk about the generational impact he had on the franchise.
And they are about to make it 8 straight, absolutely and totally unprecedented.
He's the reason, along with Bill Russell, that the Celtics became such a juggernaut in the 60s. So, no, it's an off-the-board pick. I'm going to go with him with the 4th spot.
Very off-the-board pick, but I appreciate it because it allows Paul Pierce to fall straight to me right here at number 5. When we're talking about, obviously we talk about the storied history of this franchise. You go back and you think about the 60s and the 70s. Paul Pierce was kind of at the center. Obviously, you bring in Ray Allen, you bring in Kevin Garnett, but Paul Pierce was at the center of that, and everybody goes to Boston to play to his team essentially.
Paul Pierce is the mother truth.
Another guy who is up there on the scoring list. He was the MVP in that 2008 NBA Finals. So he is kind of like more the modern version here. So I know he put, Garnett, Allen, all that, but I'm going to take the truth right here.
He told him that I was the bleep, bleep, bleep truth.
Yeah, no question. He's the link to the past in terms of how long he was part of the franchise and was the guy that tied that group together. I'm going to go with the first star of the Celtics next. That's Bob Koozie, guy that, helped usher in those championships at the beginning of his career with Bill Russell, was really the first, modern guard in the NBA. Still holds a bunch of records for all the stuff he did back then. I know our guy, JJ Redick, got a little heat for comparing him to construction workers and firefighters back in the day.
He was being guarded by plumbers and firemen.
One of the first early stars in the league. I'll go with Koozie with the 6th spot.
I'm going to go with Sam Jones right here at number 7. Obviously we talk about Russell with 11 championships. Well, Sam Jones got 10 of them for himself. Obviously Russell was not the offensive guy for a lot of those teams, but Sam Jones was. He was the guy that you can go on and trust to get a bucket.
If you had to pick one person to shoot the last shot of a game, you would pick Sam Jones.
Outside now to Sam Jones. He's good.
I feel like as we keep going through this list, it's just Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer.
That's because it is.
We're going to leave Hall of Famers off. We're going to leave guys who have had their numbers raised off. So it's getting hard here. And I realize I got one more pick. So I'll let you take it away with number 8 and we see where we go from here.
Yeah, I'll go with Kevin McHale with the 8th spot. Obviously the co-star with Larry Bird with those teams in the 80s. We've already knocked off a lot of the top guys from the run in the 60s. And, you think about Bird, McHale, Parish. McHale could have been a first-team All-NBA guy on a lot of other teams, still had a Hall of Fame career, was willing to come off the bench to make the team better. Was such a huge part of the 86 Celtics, one of the best teams of all time. So to me, he's the next guy up here at number 8.
Up to Robert Reed, blocked by Kevin McHale.
That one made mine easy then about where I was going to go with this one. I'm going to go with the chief of Robert Parish.
Johnson's bounce pass to Parish.
Obviously, he played for so long in the NBA, spent a really long time in Boston, still averaged 16 and 10 when he was there. Obviously, he's kind of the third guy to McHale and Bird, who we already have on this list, but you don't get things done without the big man in the middle.
Worthy, blocked by Parish.
And to wrap it up, you could go in a million different directions. We haven't picked Dave Cowan, haven't picked JoJo White, haven't picked Satch Sanders. There's a ton of guys you could choose from. You could talk about KG and Ray Allen. I'm going to pick Danny Ainge, though, with the 10th spot. Guy who was part of those 3 champion teams in the 80s and then spent, almost 2 decades running the team, built the team that won the 2008 championship, put the pieces in place for this Celtics team to get back to the finals last year. And even after he went to run the Utah Jazz, he was at NBA Finals games, hanging out in his old office, sitting courtside, watching games. I think it's going to be impossible for him to get Celtics green out of his system, no matter what.
Guys, that is a historic list you just created. And also think about all of the legacy that was left off of it. And that's just because the Celtics franchise is so rich in their impact on the game, period, on the NBA, and certainly as a franchise. So thank you guys for playing. It's good to hang out with you guys.
Awesome, Ross. Thanks for having us.
If anybody has any complaints about the list, please direct them to @TimBontemps.